So, Stuart, we've been talking quite a lot, haven't we, about how the events post October the 7th have produced a sense of unease in our community. It's produced a sense of people actually not feeling safe anymore on the street.
Yeah, people are really anxious and hypervigilant and looking out for problems and danger all the time. And when you're very anxious about something, it really stops you problem solving and thinking very clearly sometimes, because the most thing what you want to do is get safe as quickly as possible, however that is. So you might want to hide. You might want to avoid going into certain situations. You probably remember the anxiety response of fight and flight, which the adrenaline in the body gets really hyper, and the whole autonomic nervous system becomes ready for danger and spotting danger. And that you need to do that because you might need to run away, or you might need to fight, and sometimes you freeze to keep yourself safe. So there are all the kinds of reactions that people will have when they're feeling very on edge and on high alert.
Exactly. So our body and our mind are constantly processing the news, which obviously we've all been on a journey with the news over the last month since October. We've all been exposed to tragic images on television, to heart-rending news stories. Many people in our community have personal connections or are friends of, very tragically, people who perished in the attacks, or links to people who have been taken hostage. And of course, we've got the wider London community that we're in. Many of us have got Muslim friends. And so there's also been the news from Gaza that people are having to deal with. So it's been a very tense, emotional time on many sides of the community.
That's right. So anybody who's affected by war situation is going to be in this kind of state. It doesn't really matter what part of the community you're from. That's going to be a common experience that everybody has. And you mentioned the news. I think one of the things that we notice people doing a lot, we've heard about it, is scrolling on their phones, checking the news all the time. And the other way of seeing it, of course, if you're worried about, let's say you had a friend who was seriously ill in hospital and they were in intensive care, then you want the news because things can happen very quickly, and it feels like you're engaging yourself in some way to constantly check how are they doing, showing you care, showing you feel something. And I think that's the same for many people about what's happening if they've got friends or family in Israel. Like, it's showing you care, it's showing you're involved in some way by always knowing what's happening. And the other thing is, if you're talking about the physical safety, then there's also psychological safety. And also, who can you speak to? Who can you open up and share your feelings with? Because you don't know how you're going to get responded to. I don't know what that person thinks. They don't know what I think, but we're not going there. Because as soon as we start the conversation, it could become very distressing and very upsetting, and therefore I don't want to have it. People retreat into a shell. And then when you're not communicating, you're not talking about what you're feeling, then you've only got yourself as a kind of sort of voice to listen to. So the conversations in your head go round and round and round. I know personally, I've held every view possible about what's going on in the Middle East. I find myself in conflict internally, and I'm sure that goes along for everybody, or many, many people.
And I think that's why when we've been out there and facilitated and brought people together with the workshops, it has provided a little bit of relief from having your own personal dialogue going 24/7, able to connect with people and, sometimes connect and sharing views, sometimes agreeing to disagree, but actually knowing that we as a community can support each other. Because at the end of the day, and that's one of the really important things that Jami does in this amazing cafe, we bring people together to make social connections. I've had many conversations, with the wider community, and people saying, how are you doing? It's a really difficult, complex, nuanced situation, which is a very different feeling to what a lot of people are being exposed to on social media, which is a very polarized conversation. There's not many shades of grey being represented there. People are feeling really pulled, to kind of demonstrate how they feel, to take a stand. And I think people really struggle with that. It's been a very anxiety-provoking time.
Yes, and people who live their lives on social media and watching TikTok videos and things that come up on Instagram and YouTube and everything else, they're presented with a lot of information very, very fast. And that's often too quick to actually integrate and too actually quick to make sense of it. Yeah. And then if they're skilled presenters, they come out with particular points, and then you find yourself reacting to that point rather than actually listening to the whole of the discussion. And that all breeds polarization, and it all breeds lack of trust.
People need to have discussions about things that are troubling them, be that related to the conflict, to antisemitism. We are here for the community, and we want to help people hold on to that sense of connection.